If you do not own your own shadows, your shadows will own you. Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You are most welcome in this safe and sacred space with me. My name is Maya, and I'm a shamanic practitioner. One of my specialties and life passions is shadow work. I bring my clients to the underworld so that they can face what is in their unconscious, what is causing negative outcomes in their life, joyless outcomes, and so that they can bring that to unity with their light, so that they can love themselves and love the wholeness of their being and embrace more of who they are. So what are shadows? Shadows are the parts in our being that we repress, that we deny. They are the unloved parts of us. And they are the parts of us that we refuse to identify with. The parts in us that deeply disturb us, that we fucking hate, and we just don't even want to face it. Everybody has shadows. Everybody has many shadows. And I will be edgy to say that Jesus has shadows. God has shadows. Whatever is light has a shadow. And so, for example, depending how you look at it, for Jesus, he died on the cross. So there must have been something shadowy that he created in his physical reality on this whole idea of people judging him and not accepting his belief and therefore killing him because of it. And with that kind of mindset, Jesus is no longer a victim. So from this statement, if you don't own your shadows will own you. What lives in our unconscious, what we are not aware of, can create our physical reality, our external reality. So just like Jesus, who wasn't accepted for speaking his truth, there was something shadowy in him around this that then created a physical reality of dying on the cross. And therefore, Jesus didn't have control over the people who killed him. He didn't have control over this reality because it was his unconscious, his shadowy parts that were creating and manifesting this into the physical world. And we are all doing it all the time. Every time that something happens in your life that is joyless and fucking hard and painful, it's because your shadow is creating that reality for you. Your shadow is reaffirming a deeply repressed belief that you have. And your shadow keeps reaffirming that belief by these patterns that show up in your physical reality. Whoa, okay, so what am I talking about? That just got woo-woo. Let's take steps back and let's bring it less in this whole metaphorical sense and talk about what is relatable to you, to me, to this modern world, and let's talk about shadows from that space. So here are some practical, modern, relatable examples on how shadows can show up that I'm going to provide now. Really take this time as I speak this to reflect, do I do that? Does that happen to me? Or has that happened to me? And allow yourself to be inspired and open-minded as I speak some of these examples. And while I speak them, there is absolutely no shame, no judgment whatsoever. You and I are on the same playing field. We are equals. We both do shitty things that harm ourselves and harm those around us. We all do it. So really coming from that non-judgmental space, really coming from that space of no fucking shame. This is just how it is. So when you get triggered by something, that means that there is a shadow inside of you that wants to be seen, wants to be loved, wants to be accepted, wants to be heard. And how a trigger can show up, you can feel maybe in the body fire, like you just want to react, or you want to hide and contract. So we all have different ways in which we get triggered and how we feel a trigger. But I want to give you the example of, say you are triggered by your parents. I feel almost all of us get triggered by our parents, and it most often has something to do with our childhood. So let me give a specific example. Say you are triggered by your parents making a comment on you not living up to your full potential. Say they're making a comment on your choice of job or the amount of money you're making. Well, that trigger can likely be from a shadow inside yourself where you believe you are not good enough, or where you feel like you are not seen or understood by your family, by the people around you, or you feel like you're just not accepted for who you are and for the path that you walk. And this shadow could have stemmed from when you were a little kid and how you were raised by your parents, and then you deeply, deeply repressed it because you didn't want to feel it. You didn't want to face that your parents made you feel like you weren't enough or that you weren't accepted for who you are. So you repressed it and repressed it over the years. Oh, an even better example. So one of my specialities is sexuality. And on my Instagram and YouTube, I talk a lot about it very openly to educate, to teach, and to minimize the shame. And I get a lot of particularly men and particularly religious men who DM me or comment on my videos or who react very suddenly to anything around sexuality and when I speak about it. And for me, it's not actually personal to me and to my work and to my path. It's actually their trigger that they then go and react. And this trigger comes from a space of deeply repressed sexuality, feeling not free in sexuality, having their sexuality demonized. And that has been the reality on this planet for 1,000 years. And religion is, I would say, the result of that. And so this deeply repressed shadow is coming up and saying, hey, see me, love me, accept me. I am a part of you. And also this shadow, this deeply repressed sexual shadow, can also lead beings to causing abuse and rape in the world, for mistreating women. So it can really dive into many different expressions, that repressed shadow. And it can lead to a reality and make that person feel very unhappy in a lot of aspects in their sexual life because there's a lot of shame around it. And then it can lead them to leaving a lot of hateful comments on my YouTube videos. Or you can see a lot of hateful comments on literally all over Instagram, all over YouTube. Just look at any comment section. You will find someone who's giving hate. And I don't blame that person for hating. It's because they have that trigger and they don't know how to handle that emotion. So they rather project it out rather than take a look back and say, whoa, where is that feeling coming from? Why do I feel a fire? Why do I feel triggered from what this person is revealing to me? Why do I feel this? Because it's always personal. It's always personal. Once you integrate your shadow and your light, you actually will be a person who is more about unity and going from that in a space of love and acceptance rather than a space of let me hate the other, let me separate myself from the other. But the thing is what you're separating yourself from in the other is what you're denying in yourself. What you're judging in the other is what you're denying in yourself. When you judge someone else and you are triggered by someone else, that means there is something in you, some shadow, something that you have repressed that you are denying and you are choosing not to love. So it has everything to do with you and nothing really to do with that person who is just standing as they are. Okay, so more examples. A person who keeps creating or entering toxic relationships. And even though they could be aware that this is toxic, that they are with a narcissist, they still do it. And something in them feels like, oh, I'm so pulled to them. I feel like I can't detach. And this is because it is a shadow in them that is drawn, that is creating that cord, that is finding pleasure in that toxicity. And breaking that pattern can be very hard when we don't take the deep presence and time to become aware of what is really pulling us into this toxic relationship and what is really continuously creating a reality that is like this. So with people who keep creating a reality where they don't have the ideal partner, this can come from a space, well, really deep inside themselves, they don't feel like they're good enough. And so they'll keep entering relationships just to affirm that deeply repressed belief that they don't even know they have, or they're not willing to be not only aware, but to face the emotion of that. And so they'll keep entering toxic relationships just to reaffirm that they are a piece of shit because they believe that to be true. And oftentimes that belief that they are a piece of shit can happen from some sort of trauma in their life, maybe something in childhood, or even something in past life that's just in their bodies, or it can be something they're tapping into collectively. And the shadow work will sometimes reveal that story of the source where you started to repress that and not love it. A great one is you ghost someone, or someone ghosts you. Now, this can be from a shadow of not willing to face honesty and truth and feeling too uncomfortable so that you choose to run away because you don't want to face it. You don't want to face who you are. Or someone can ghost you because they feel that they don't believe they're worthy of receiving love. And maybe you guys were getting too close and they're like, "Ooh, nope, I'm out," because they feel like they can't hold that container of divine love, so they run away and they ghost you because they don't want to face themselves. Usually when people are too afraid to sit there and have the uncomfortable conversations that need to be have always in relating, whether they're a best friend, a parent, or a partner, uncomfortable conversations is what always will bring you closer and bring more unity. But if there is that total fear of having those uncomfortable conversations, it's because they are afraid of themselves and they have a lot of deep judgment within self and they don't even want to face it. Ooh, another one is you somehow manage to create drama or find yourself in drama, whether that's with a friend, a partner, a family member, you're just stirring shit up, or you self-sabotage. Then there could be many shadows behind that is causing you to create that, whether it is you are afraid to feel love, or you don't feel worthy of feeling love, or you have trust issues so you're afraid of getting too close, or even dark feminine loves to test and challenge the other. So maybe you cause drama to see if they will fight for you or save you or choose you. It can be very shadowy, the way that we create drama in relationships, or the way that we can act out. Really, partnerships are the biggest place for our shadows to show up. Ooh, another one is you cheat or betray your partner in some sort of way. Let's say it could even be just sliding in some other person's DMs and just like complimenting them and wanting to flirt a little, because maybe perhaps you're not getting the validation that you seek from your partner. So instead of going and speaking to your partner of, I'm not receiving what I need, because that's scary, I'm not receiving validation, and recognizing that you need validation, instead it's easier to go into your shadow and just feel that pull to reach out to that random person on Instagram and flirt a little, or to even, you're out in the town and then you just fuck somebody else for a night, or however it can look. But this happens a lot. So getting a little bit back to the esoteric, because I want to share something. I think it's really fun and it paints a nice picture. So I'm going to say something really edgy, and I know this is going to trigger a lot of people who were raised in the Abrahamic religions, so like Islam and Christianity. This is going to be edgy. I saw this sign on a church that said, "Run away from Satan, walk with God." But I'm going to tell you, darling, God couldn't love and accept its own shadow, and its shadow is Satan. And because it couldn't accept and love this shadow, its shadow creates rape, war, child abuse, trauma, and all of this in the world. And its shadow seeks pleasure from it. So God is a kinky motherfucker, and it seeks pleasure. He seeks pleasure from this that is created in the world, from all of us sinning, because it's his shadow who desires it. And until God integrates, embodies, accepts, loves its shadow, Satan, this world will not know peace, will stay in duality. If God took ownership of his shadow, of his Satan, Satan will no longer create this kind of reality, because Satan and God are in sacred union, in consciousness. And so the God and Satan duality is just one beautiful archetypal example of things that we can do continuously inside ourselves, creating that sacred union of the infinite amount of different shadows and lights we got going on inside our reality. We have many different light aspects. We have many different dark aspects. And those are just waiting to be in union, to come back to like the yin and the yang, to be integrated, to come whole and complete. And that is one of the missions of the life work of humanity. We come onto this planet for duality, and throughout our life, it's all about bringing sacred union over and over again to all these different aspects. And whatever exists outside in our external reality exists inside of ourselves. Okay, I'm gonna end here. This video is just talking about what is shadows, and in the next video I will talk about what is shadow work. Like, how can we actually integrate and accept and love these aspects? How can we become aware of these aspects inside of ourselves? So that will be the next video. I hope that you enjoyed this one. I can imagine that it can be very triggering, and that's part of my purpose in this world, to activate what needs to be seen inside of you so you can find more and more of your truth, so you can remember more and more of who you are, and to love yourself more deeply. That's what this is about. This is about love, truth, and freedom. So whatever comments you have, comment it below. I would love to know what you think. I would love to hear from you and from your truth. Everything that I said in this video, it's in my truth. It's in my personal subjective experience. It's in my work as a shamanic practitioner. And yes, even though I'm a professional in this kind of work, you have your own truth. And I fucking honor and respect that. So I send you a lot of love, deep gratitude for you making it to this point of the video as well. Like, thank you. You're someone who is willing to face what's hard, and that's kind of rare. So I love you. I'm appreciative of you. Thank you for showing up for yourself, and I hope you enjoy the next video. Please subscribe. It really, really helps my channel and helps the mission of Goddess Activation. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Mwah.